Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are digging into a really fascinating book by Daniel Pink called Drive. And let me tell you, it's going to challenge a belief that you and probably everyone you know hold dear about what actually gets people moving.
Yeah, we're basically going to take aim at one of society's most fundamental assumptions. You know the one. If you want to improve performance, you reward the good stuff and you punish the bad. We're about to see why that whole way of thinking is, well, totally falling apart.
So to really get why this old system is failing us, let's kick things off with a modern-day puzzle. And it's a puzzle that, honestly, based on everything we thought we knew about business and economics, shouldn't have been a puzzle in the first place. Okay, picture this. It's the mid-1990s. You got to place a bet on one of two projects, both trying to build a massive new encyclopedia. In one corner, you've got Microsoft and Carta. I mean, this thing is backed by a corporate giant, it's got paid professional writers, well-paid managers, the whole nine yards. They're selling it for a profit. And then, in the other corner, you have Wikipedia. This one's being built by thousands of people for free, volunteers doing it just for the fun of it, and they're giving it away for nothing.
So, which model should have won? I mean, according to every business textbook, every MBA program, the logic of rewards and punishments, it was a complete no-brainer, right? The paid professional model and Carta should have absolutely crushed it. The other one seemed like it was doomed from the start.
But, of course, the real world had a huge surprise in store. Microsoft ended up pulling the plug on Encyclopedia. And Wikipedia? It went on to become the largest, most popular encyclopedia on the entire planet. Our old-school ideas about what motivates people, they just have no way to explain this. None.
So what in the world is going on here? Well, the clues actually started popping up decades earlier, and they came from two really surprising experiments that involved, of all things, a couple of simple puzzles. Let's rewind to the 1940s. A psychologist named Harry Harlow gives a bunch of rhesus monkeys these little mechanical puzzles. Now, he wasn't really studying the puzzles themselves, he just wanted the monkeys to get used to them before his actual experiments on learning started. But then, something totally unexpected happened. With zero prompting, no food, no rewards of any kind, the monkeys just started solving the puzzles. And they were really into it, focused, determined, and they actually seemed to be having fun. They were doing it just for the sake of doing it. Harlow realized he was looking at something new, a third drive. This wasn't about the basic biological needs for survival, and it wasn't about getting a treat or avoiding a punishment. He called it intrinsic reward, this idea that the satisfaction of doing the task is the reward itself. And this is where it gets really crazy. Harlow thought, okay, if this intrinsic motivation thing is real, then adding an external reward, like a raisin, should make the monkeys even better at the puzzles, right? Makes sense. But the complete opposite happened. When he started giving them raisins for solving the puzzles, their performance actually got worse. They started making more mistakes and solved them less often. How weird is that?
Now, this bizarre finding was pretty much ignored for about 20 years. That is, until a graduate student named Edward Deci decided to see if this strange phenomenon also applied to humans. And to do it, he used this popular puzzle at the time called the Soma Cube.
His experiment was brilliantly simple. He got two groups of college kids to solve puzzles over 3 days. Now, Group B, the control group, they were never paid a dime. But Group A, they got paid to solve puzzles. But here's the kicker. Only on day 2.
So DC secretly watched what the students did during their breaks when they could do whatever they wanted. On day 2, just as you'd expect, the group that was getting paid spent more of their free time playing with the puzzles. But, and this is the whole point, on day 3, when the money was gone, Group A's interest just fell off a cliff. It dropped even lower than where they started on day 1 before they ever got paid.
Dici's conclusion was a bombshell, and it perfectly matched what Harlow saw with the monkeys. He showed that external rewards, like money, can literally snuff out our own internal fire. The very thing we think is supposed to boost motivation can actually kill it.
Okay, so if rewards can backfire this badly, why is our entire society, our workplaces, our schools, everything built around them? It's a huge question. And to understand it, we've got to look at what Pink calls our motivational operating system.
So Pink's idea is that society kind of runs on these motivational operating systems. Version 1.0 was super basic. It was just our biological drive to survive. Food, water, safety. But as societies got more complex, we upgraded. We went to motivation 2.0. And this new system runs on the assumption that we're all driven by two main things: seeking rewards and avoiding punishments.
And this pretty much became the default setting for, well, everything. It's the carrot and stick approach. It's built on this really simple idea that if you want to get people to do something, all you need is a bigger, juicier carrot or a sharper, pointier stick.
And look, for the kind of routine, assembly line work that defined the 20th century, this system actually worked okay. The problem is, today that old operating system is crashing hard. It's just completely out of sync with the modern world.
Motivation 2.0 is slamming up against the reality of how we organize things now, how we think, and how we actually do our work. I mean, we see things like Wikipedia that defy the old profit motive. We now know from behavioral economics that we're not just these perfectly rational calculators. And, maybe most importantly, the kind of work we do has fundamentally changed.
And this leads us to the biggest mismatch of all. Think about two types of work. First, there's algorithmic work. That's routine stuff, where you're just following a set of instructions. For that, carrots and sticks, they work okay. But then you have heuristic work. This is the stuff that requires creativity, experimenting, and coming up with something new. And for that kind of work, external rewards can be an absolute disaster. And here's why this matters so much. A study from McKinsey found that a whopping 70% of job growth in the US now comes from that creative heuristic work. Think about that. Our entire 21st century economy is depending more and more on the exact kind of work that our old motivational system can literally crush.
This brings us to a really core lesson here, and it was perfectly captured, believe it or not, in a classic book, Mark Twain's The Adventures of Tom Sawyer.
I'm sure you remember the story, right? Tom Sawyer has to whitewash a fence, a super boring chore, but he masterfully reframes it as this amazing exclusive privilege, and he ends up getting his friends to pay him for the chance to do the work. Twain's point is what we now call the Sawyer effect. Rewards can do this weird magic trick. They can transform something that's fun and engaging into a total drudge. They can literally turn play into work.
So all of this really forces us to take a hard look at how much we rely on these external, carrot and stick rewards. Because if we don't, we're running the risk of snuffing out the very creativity and passion that we desperately need to solve today's problems. It really makes you stop and ask yourself, doesn't it? Are the rewards in my life, in my work, are they actually killing my drive?